I didn't make a video for last week because there really wasn't much to talk about, and I think you can all predict what I would have said anyway. Okay, so this episode was a pretty good episode because it's made me feel more for many of the people there, and not just about the game, but just like their own personal lives. Uh, and it's also reinforced that this season is pretty unusual in that, one, I have feelings for pretty much everybody, and I can throw myself for rooting for almost everybody. And for the first time since HVV aired, when I started watching each current season, I honestly can't give any topics to win because every other season by this point there were people that I really wanted to see to triumph over other people. Sure, I kind of changed it later on, but usually I have an idea at this point. Here I have no top picks, so I'm not even going to do it this season until we get to, like, the finale, I think. What the? Odd. Okay. So, first thing to talk about, I think, is the duel. That was a pretty interesting duel. I would have been sorry to see any of these three people go. And in the end, Aris goes, well, his story was pretty much over at this point, so it's not too much of a loss. But let me tell you, he was a very interesting factor in this season. So it's a bit of a bummer to lose that, but this season has so many characters. We've got more. And then that discussion that Jeff, well, forced between him and Vetus. Now, I do feel for the brothers in that situation, but at the same time, it is, well, forced. Because, like, okay, I know it's Jeff's job to throw in questions that contestants don't want to answer, don't expect to answer, and stuff like that, but at the same time, I'd like it to feel like natural. This didn't feel completely natural because the brothers, I think, have already stated stuff that was similar to this, and really, I think a discussion like this is better suited for the after show with Pav, which is exactly what Pav did. It's just Jeff making a big deal about stuff that he really shouldn't, such as Coulter being a gay Republican, where he didn't mention once in one word or hear that he was a Republican, and then doing the bits where he states that Sierra is not in favor of gay rights when it's never been mentioned anywhere except his own descriptions of her, both in the show and in secret scenes. So, really, why mention something like that and not have it play a factor in anything later, Jeff? Just sheesh. And this is somebody who is for gay rights, okay? So, yeah. Quit it, Jeff. You know what I'm talking about. Earlier vids for this season, enough said. Okay. So after the duel, we have very interesting dynamics between people going on at the camp. There's Tyson and Jervis continuing the control of the game, and it is pretty interesting to see because while these two will definitely be regarded as, I think, the antagonists for this season, at the same time, it isn't that dark of an antagonist, really, because, well, let's go back to Tokens. I haven't seen Tokens all the way through, but I think there were people out there who, nonetheless, despite not totally liking Coach and Tyson for being the villains of the season, they nonetheless enjoyed seeing what they did, even though, of course, Coach would have driven you nuts with the stories, like with most of his castaways. Yeah. Then there's the Katie and Sierra discussion. Well, Sierra is able to get Katie to admit that she doesn't have the idol. I was really impressed that she did that. Like, I wouldn't have made the jump in figuring out that Katie didn't have it based on the words that she had there. If I had more time to think about it, I might have been able to figure it out, but that was pretty impressive by Sierra. Good job. And then there's also the bits between her and her mom. And I was surprised at how much I felt for them because they both are like, well, this is not really the best situation for us game-wise. In a personal level, this is a very powerful thing, and I think it's going to help us out a lot more. And like when Laura teared up, I almost felt like tearing up, but because I was kind of happy for her. She herself said, as a mom, this is really helpful to me. Yeah. I almost lost my control of voice. Moving on, so I don't have that happen again. The immunity challenge. Forget about the challenge, but Monica's decision after the challenge, I was pretty impressed that Jeff was perfectly willing to let her just give it all up. What I would have done in his position was, okay, I'll agree to that, provided one other person decides to give that up. I don't know why, that's just what popped into my head, but I was glad that Monica did that, because first of all, we didn't get any back confessionals from her this entire episode, and then her doing that, it keeps the episode positive, but also puts her a little bit more positive. Because, like, everyone... Well, not everyone, but I think Kim, and then a couple of other people in the season, I forget who said it, stated that Monica does have, like, a bit of a motherly nature, and it showed here. So yeah, nice job, Monica. I don't know if this will get me rooting for you or not, but, hey, I want to recognize a nice gesture. Hopefully. Then at Tribal Council, it's either Laura or Katie, and in the end, they decided to go for Laura. Well, I'm a bit glad that they did, because it just helped finish off the episode in a great light. And I also really like how the final vote that sends Laura to Redemption Island is actually Sierra's vote. So how do I feel about her voting for her mother? Well, on a personal level, just, between mother and daughter, I'd hate that as a game player, though I would expect that a mile away. Oh, and I think even Laura herself was somewhat expecting of it, so in the end I'm just going to say I don't think it bothers me that much, and hopefully I can stick to that. But do I feel sorry for those two? Well, yeah, because it was just hard to see, Well, I've gone on for 7 minutes, stating stuff that I think most of you guys could have predicted, but of course I want to give you my thoughts on everything, and anything else to mention? Oh, the preview. Tyson being in trouble. We knew that this was going to happen eventually. Had to happen. Then as for the duel, I think honestly Vetus goes. That's my prediction.